I really just wanted to go through how to get a flawless face with foundation. So I'm going to give you some recommendations, tips for applying foundation. I have tools to put on foundation and primers, powders, concealers, all that jazz. I most likely titled the video Full Coverage, and I also probably put pale skin in it because all the foundations, powders, and whatnot I'm going to be talking about is pale because I obviously have very pale skin, and I know the struggle of trying to get like a foundation that doesn't turn your skin orange when you're this pale. Like it sometimes it just can get really annoying. So that's why I'm going to kind of talk about that. And I'm also labeling it full coverage because I like a full coverage foundation, concealer, and whatnot. That's just my opinion. I'm also going to give some tips if you like a sheer coverage. I'm going to just jump right in and I'm going to talk about primers first. A lot of people don't believe in primers, but in my opinion, you just need to find the right one. Like, there's many that won't do anything for you, but there are a lot that will make your foundation so much easier to apply. It will just smooth over your skin a lot easier, cover any pores, any redness, all that jazz. So I want to talk about my favorite first. This is the Becca Backlighting Priming Filter. I talked about this in my December favorites and I've been using it in like every single video. I have it on right now already because I just like to put this on before anything else. Actually, after lotion, which is another thing I just want to point out real quick. If you it doesn't matter what skin type you have, you need to put on lotion, face lotion, before you start your makeup because that foundation will just cling to any dry patches. It doesn't matter if you have like oily skin, lotion is like the key to really making that foundation look good. Anyway, I'm gonna move on now. So I put on face lotion and then I went in with this primer, and this just adds like a really nice dewiness, nice shine to my skin. I have never noticed it like adding like a longer time for my foundation to stay, but it's hydrating and it adds like a really nice finish to my skin, which is nice for days I'm not wearing makeup and nice for a base for putting on my foundation. So I just want to talk about that real quick. If you have dry skin, I highly recommend this. It's really, really worth it in my opinion. So I usually start with that, and then I like to use an actual primer that is more likely to make my foundation stay longer, as well as like cover any pores. And these two are my favorite primers. This is the Smashbox Photo Finish Foundation Primer. This really will smooth over your skin and like cover any pores you have, make it really easy to apply your foundation, and it will your foundation will look really smooth and flawless after you put it on. So I like to use this primer. This is just really moisturizing, and I like to just put it in my the center of my face after I put on the Becca Backlighting Primer. This is what I use like every day, and I think it does add a radiance. I think it makes it really easy for that foundation to smooth over your skin and just adds a nice finish. But the good thing about this primer is that they sell so many different kinds. Like there's one that cancels redness, one that covers pores, there's one that mattifies your skin, one that hydrates your skin. There's just so many. So I highly suggest trying a Makeup Forever primer because you really can't go wrong with it, and there's like so many different kinds that it's like impossible not to be able to find like the thing you need. So that's just my favorite primers. They are both from Sephora, so they are kind of spendy, but sometimes it's kind of worth it to really make your foundation look really good. That's just my opinion. And I want to talk about BB cream, but this is the L'Oreal Paris Magic Skin Beautifier BB cream, and this is color Fair, of course. And I used to wear this like every day. It adds very nice coverage. It covers my redness. It primes, corrects, hydrates, and perfects It's just really nice. I actually got my sister hooked on this because she's someone who likes a very sheer coverage with her concealers or foundations. So I got her hooked on this one. I think it's really nice. If you're looking for a cheap primer, then I suggest this one, and then you can just use a foundation after that if you want larger coverage. But if you like a very sheer coverage and you're looking at drugstore products, I highly recommend this. I would even recommend this if you are looking at higher end products, just because it's worth it to me. It really is. So that's it with primers and my BB creams. I'm going to go ahead and put this one on right now because I've only put on the Becca one, and as I said before, I'm not actually sure if that really helps. So now that we are done talking about the primers, I'm going to jump right into foundations. And I actually have a lot here, so I'm going to quickly go through them. I'll start with the drugstore one. This is a True Match Lumi foundation. I wore this a lot last year. I highly recommend this if you have dry skin and if you want good coverage. This is really good. It adds a very nice dewy finish. It has great coverage and it just looks really nice on the skin. I have the color W12, which is Porcelain Light Ivory. I think I want to change that color though, just because I found it kind of did make my skin a little orange. So I'm probably going to find a different one. But if you are dry skin and looking for good coverage from a drugstore, definitely recommend this one. Okay, so I have two Makeup Forever Ultra HD foundations. This one is the stick and this one is the foundation. They actually changed the formula in 2015, and I have not been a big fan of the new formula just because I feel like it has lighter coverage than what they had before, so I do not use this often at all. But the nice thing about this one is it adds sheer coverage for people who like that, and there's a wide range of colors, which I was like super happy about because this one is pale as can be. Like, I will show you. I actually need to go darker because I was like not expecting that. Like, that is pale. That is just like pure white right there. So that's why I pretty much don't wear it anymore. But again, it's really nice for people with oily to dry skin and people who want a sheer coverage. And then this is a stick. This is for people with dry skin because it does add a dewy finish to your skin. I like it because it's really quick. You just put it on your face. I put it along my jawline and then blend out up around my face with a brush. But if you're not looking for a dewy finish, then I wouldn't suggest this. Also, it is slightly more coverage than this one, so that's the difference between those two. Alright, so this one I was obsessed with last year. This is the MAC Studio Sculpt foundation. I have the color in C15, which is light. This is definitely for dry skin. It has a high coverage to it as well. As you can see, like I didn't blend it all over my hand, but yeah, it's heavy coverage. It has a very dewy finish, so if you are not dry, you will hate it. It will just look like a mess after the day. I loved it during last year winter because my skin was so dry. It was driving me crazy, so that's why I got this, and it really looked amazing. And then as soon as it stopped being so dry, it just started like melting off my face during the day, and I was just like, okay, moving on from this one. But this is really nice if you have very dry skin and you want high coverage. This is the Estée Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place makeup. I like to wear this during the summer just because it has a little more color to it than some of my other foundations. It does not make me orange though, which is like amazing that it's just really awesome to me. It's very high coverage. It's I would say to dry to oily skin, I don't see it doesn't make me look cakey, but it also doesn't make me look dewy. But it's very full coverage, so if you're looking for that, I would definitely suggest this. And this is my favorite all time. This is the CoverFX Natural Finish Oil-Free Foundation. Again, this is for people with dry skin because it does add a dewy finish. It's beautiful though, in my opinion. I love it. It has very high coverage, so if you're heavy-handed, it might get some, it might take some time getting used to, but I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. This is already like my second bottle because I have been using this like every day. So today for this video, I'm going to mix these two, and I'm using a brush. To apply my foundation, I used to love using a beauty blender, but I found that this adds a very sheer finish to your skin. Like if you put your foundation on normally, but instead of using a brush and use a beauty blender, it will be a lot more sheer than you're used to probably. And I decided to stop using this just because it was getting kind of annoying. I had to go back in and just cover that redness that started like peeking through. So, but if you like a very sheer coverage, using a beauty blender, I definitely recommend. Just make sure it is damp. It doesn't matter if you have oily skin and you don't see the big deal in that. Your foundation is not gonna be able to look as good if it's a dry sponge. It's gonna look cakey and just not worth it. So I used to use the Sigma flat kabuki brush, but it just wasn't my favorite. I didn't really like the finish to my skin, so I went to the Morphe M439 brush because Jessalyn Hill uses it, and you can't go wrong with her, like, right? So I started using this. I love this. It adds a beautiful finish to the skin and makes sure my foundation is really just smooths over my skin, is very high coverage and not cakey looking. And to make sure I still get that dewy finish to my skin, I like to spray it with MAC Fix Plus, and that just makes it a lot easier to really work with that foundation on my skin. Okay, so today I'm going to mix these two because that's what I did yesterday, and I really, really like the result. Right, and then I go in with my finger and I just mix the two on the back of my hand. And then I'll just wipe it on my jawline. So I'm just spraying this. I'm not trying to get it too wet, but I want to get it pretty even. And then I'll usually take like a cotton ball in my hand and just make sure there's not too much on it. Because if there's too much on it, you will not get the coverage you want. It'll just be like a mess. Alright, this is nice. So then I'll just take it and I'll start doing little circles, gradually going higher onto my face. I'll also pad and swipe. I'll just go between those movements. I think that's the best in my opinion. I like to pad in the places I get the most red, which is like my cheek area, my jawline, which is really weird to me, but yeah, I get really red right here, and under my nose, but I'm going to go in with concealer for under my nose, so I'm not too worried about that. And when going back to get more foundation, I like to take some and then I'll move away from that and just kind of make sure it's spread out evenly on the back of my hand, on the brush. Okay, so I've done with my foundation, but now I'm just going to go back in with this beauty blender with this side. It has nothing on it, and I'm just going to take away any of that foundation that would make my skin look cakey. This is just getting rid of the excess on my skin. It's smoothing everything out so it doesn't look like I took a brush onto my face, if you know what I mean. Making sure it looks even. Okay, so I'm not going to go into details in the next part because I do have a whole video on how to bake, highlight, contour, all that jazz. But I am going to do a little bit of concealer. When using concealer under the eye area, I would highly suggest using either a beauty blender or the Real Technique sponge. This one is a lot cheaper. I got like 2 for $11 and this one's like $20. I like this for my whole face, but when going into the under eye area, I prefer this because the slanted and more precise edge that the Real Technique sponge has. It really does just give a very flawless finish in that under eye area with your concealer, just because it makes sure to not only hydrate, make sure it's not really cakey under there, but also to spread out evenly in that area. So that's just like I highly suggest that you try that, because brushes will just not do the same thing. And I use the Lancôme Long Lasting Under Eye Concealer. This is only under eye concealer. I use the color Porcelain 1. It's very pale, so I like how it adds a highlight to that area. But I love how it's not too heavy in that area, so it doesn't feel horrible and doesn't look horrible during the day. But it also like doesn't crease easily, and yeah, it's just like the perfect amount of coverage. Like, you do not want to take a very heavy coverage concealer and just put it in the under eye area, because it will just crease and you'll hate it. Like during the day, you'll feel it and you'll be like, ah. It's the worst feeling. Okay, and this is where I put my Naked Skin Urban Decay Concealer. I use the color Fair Neutral. I put it in the center of my face to match that under eye highlight. And these are like my chin, around my nose, and on my nose is the areas where I get the most red. So it kind of serves two purposes. Alright, so now that we have the concealer, foundation, primer all on, we have like the base of our face ready to go. We go into powders. If you have very dry skin, I wouldn't really worry about this too much. Maybe just set that under your eye concealer. But I have like slightly dry skin and I still like to go in with powder. Okay, so I just really needed to set that before it started really creasing. So I use the Studio MAC Fix powder foundation in the color In Free, which is super duper light. I went even lighter recently because I really wanted more highlight in that under eye area. It was kind of like taking away the highlight I added when I went in with powder after concealer. So that's why I went even lighter. I really like this. This is just my opinion. It's a foundation powder, so it is high coverage. In fact, if you are looking for just something really quick and something that will get you out the door without having to go through with like liquid foundations, primers, or whatnot, I would highly suggest this. It's very high coverage and I love it. I only use it in the places I just put concealer for that reason, because I like extra coverage so I can really lock in everything and just make sure I don't have any redness peeking through or whatnot during the day. And I also use the Real Technique sponge. I have like two different. One is for my concealer and one is for powder. And I like to use this in that under eye area and when I'm locking in the rest of that foundation, concealer I mean. Because if you use a damp sponge, once again, it's just going to make sure that powder does not cake up in those places you put it. Like when I go in with this and my powder, it just adds a very nice coverage. But if you're looking for like extra coverage with like a foundation powder, then I would just use a brush. But if you use a Real Technique sponge or a beauty blender and it's damp, it's just going to make sure it's spread out equally. It doesn't add so much coverage that it's just like cakey in those areas. Mercier powder. I don't like to bake anywhere except for under my cheekbones these days because it does tend to look a little too dry on me and it feels too dry and I just die during the day. But if you have oily skin, I definitely suggest baking, and I would only suggest this powder, honestly. But if you have dry skin, I would not suggest baking, maybe only to like clean up that cheekbone area when you contour. That's just my opinion, although. I'm going to go quickly in with the Mercier powder. I don't like to bake with this anywhere else, but I do like to quickly take a brush, and I'm just using my MAC 137 brush, and I just like to take a bit, tap it out, and I like to go over the places I didn't go in with that foundation powder because I still need like to make sure that foundation is locked in place, you know? Also, this just makes it easier for that contour to just glide onto your skin and blend easily. If you are looking cakey, I definitely recommend MAC Prep and Prime if you also have like dry skin once you're done with your makeup, or if you just have dry skin in general, I mean. I would definitely suggest MAC Fix Plus just to like spray your face off because this will definitely give you a dewy finish. It will it will set into like that powder and make sure it's not cakey. It just looks very blended together and dewy. But this is only for if you have dry skin or if you're looking cakey. If you have oily skin and you look fine, I would suggest using something like the Urban Decay All Nighter Makeup Setting Spray. This is what I like to do. I just like to spray my face down once I'm done with all my makeup. And this makes sure I'm not looking cakey, but it also makes sure that foundation powder and concealer is all set and will last a longer time. If you're looking for a drugstore version, I like the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Spray and Set Makeup Extender Setting Spray to use. And if you are super duper dry and if you feel cakey, you look cakey, and you just need something to lighten your skin up and make you look alive, I would recommend the Tatcha Luminous Dewy Skin Mist. But if you're going to use this and you finished all your makeup, take something to cover your eyes, whether it's like a palette or your hands, to spray your face, because it will just like take that mascara and it will just start running down your face like, whew, it won't be pretty. So that's all I'm going to talk about today. This is a very long video. I'm going to try to cut it down as much as possible because I know how annoying it can be to just have like a super duper long video. I really hope this helped you, told you a little bit about how to get that flawless foundation. This is just my suggestions. These are just my opinions. If you see it a completely different way, that's fine. There's probably a bunch of videos about how to get a flawless foundation, but I really want to do one on how I do it because I kind of just rush through these in my videos because it's not really fun, in my opinion, to watch like the same thing over and over. But I really want to go into detail with how I do it, and so I hope this helped you. If you have dry skin, if you want full coverage, if you have more oily skin or whatnot. So that's all. I'll be back soon with another makeup tutorial. This one will be full face eye look I have been planning, and I will see you soon. Bye!